8:07's the time. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Keep that phone number in mind because you might want it to ask a couple of questions here of my guest. Josh Wheeler sitting in the studio with me, who's decided to go ahead and run for U.S. Senate, state of Wyoming, and on the, let's get out of the way, on what ticket?
Republican.
Republican ticket, okay. And the reason for running is?
Well, it came down to the fact that tired of seeing a lot of the things going on with my fellow veterans and really getting tired of the status quo, continuously doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Okay.
You know, it's a problem when you continue to do the same thing and try to, hope the person will do something better and they don't. So put in the change.
There will be a bit of a problem for you starting off because we have, Lummis stepping into the race. That's a pretty big name. And there's a couple of other names out there that are more well-known. So I really do like you have on your vest there. Did you make that yourself?
Actually, I had a local company called Laser Tech.
Okay.
Made my name tag.
It's a name tag made out of wood, and his name is just like engraved, burned into it in old Western font. It looks really good.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And Laser Tech did a great job on it. They made a few for my campaign so that my staff members, all 5 of them.
Yeah. And by saying their name twice, you just paid for it. So now, this means, though, that you have a name recognition problem, to be honest about it. That means you're going around the state, which means you're going to be driving all over the state.
Yes.
Usually people running for office go through at least one set of tires, if not 2. But you're also going to have to raise some money to get the word out there as well. So what's the strategy?
As the raising money side, I'm just doing grassroots fundraising.
Okay.
Family members have all donated. I've had close friends donate. And then I've actually had a few complete strangers send money in the mail,
nice.
Which goes to our P.O. Box at 607 Casper, Wyoming, 82602, or they can even donate online at fighting4wyoming.com.
So I guess other than running for office, no one's just going to be sending me checks in the mail just for random reasons whatsoever. It's been a dream of mine my entire life, but it's just not going to happen. Okay, let's talk about why specifically, because we got into you are tired of seeing the same thing over and over.
Yes.
And I think we're all understanding of that. So if you get into the Senate seat specifically, because it's not just the Democrats you have to deal with.
No, it's not.
Status quo. What's the strategy?
Strategy is this. I know I'm going to have to make friends with some of the career politicians that are going to be there, but my goal in everything is to reach out to some of the newer candidates like myself. There's a lot of veterans stepping up to run for office and try to make actual change, put a voice into reason on the fact that, yes, the VA has this great 800 number that saves 1 or 2 veterans a year, but we can't continue to use the same manual to fix different types of vehicles, if you know what I'm getting at.
Okay.
And then when it comes to the budget, which is another big issue, is get in there and try to figure out ways to put it across that we need to cut certain things and actually voice it a little louder or use different strategies than what's being used now, because it just seems like people want to raise in Congress. And
well, you're dealing, and here again is why I picked both parties out. You're dealing with both parties who continue, every time either one of them is in debt, they always, when they're out of power, claim to be the debt hawks, the deficit hawks. You get either party into power, and they both do the same thing. They both spend like crazy. To get them even to do, remember sequestration? Even a small, less than 1% cut, had them screaming. And that includes, again, your own Republican Party.
Yes.
So how do you turn to people like Mitch McConnell and actually get them for once to make some major cuts?
Well, it's not just up to the people with all the money. It's not just all the people who have been there forever. It's up to the people themselves. It's as I state regularly when I talk to people, they say, what kind of chance do you have running this race? And I say, I'm not leaving it up to the millionaires and those career politicians. I'm leaving it up to the people. The people truly have the power. And the people need to stand up and say, okay, we're sick of this and we want this done. And as soon as they start turning away from people like Mitch McConnell, Schumer, once they start turning away from these politicians and saying, no, we're not going to continue to back you, these younger politicians or younger statesmen have better ideas, and you're not following them. Once they start backing away from them, then they actually start losing ground and we start gaining.
Josh Wheeler's my guess. He's running for U.S. Senate, which, again, he's got some bigger names that you have to go up against. Let's talk for just a moment about your background, because we know some of your competition. We know their background. They've been in the public eye for quite a while. You come from where? Hail from where? Born where?
Well, I was born in Martinez, and don't judge me on that. I did all I could as quickly as possible to get out of that state. Moved to Vegas and didn't quite like it there.
Yeah.
And then started to look around and really study the states, and Wyoming from a distance looked like home. I moved here, moved to Rawlins first, and that was a little too small for me.
Okay.
So then I moved out to a ranch, worked out on the ranch for a bit, and then moved in here to Casper, and I've been here for almost 20 years now.
Okay. Line of work you're in?
Actually, I'm a 100% disabled veteran.
Okay.
I got injured on my first and second deployment. Second deployment, I got sent home early. First deployment, I finished out the deployment.
Deployed to where, and what was, if I can ask, what was the job while you were deployed out there?
Well, the first deployment, we were doing convoy security and Con Air missions. I was on the Con Air missions.
Okay.
That's about as much as I believe I'm allowed to say on those.
No, I understand that. Yeah.
But a lot of the different companies within our different squads within our companies were or platoons were doing different jobs, from transporting packages and stuff like that. And I don't mean like FedEx.
Right. Yeah.
I mean people or things like that. And then I injured my neck, and the commander told me that I could go home or move over to Con Air, and I moved over to Con Air.
Okay. Phone number to get involved, 888-97-WOODS. That's 888-97-WODS. Sitting in the studio with me is a candidate for U.S. Senate, which is Josh Wheeler. For first time out running for anything at all? You never run for any other kind of office before?
Not on the private, not in this sector. Some individual or private organizations I've ran for offices in those. But
okay, so now this would be, considering the kinds of lines of work, and I understand it's supposed to be a citizen government, but there's it's a specialty to be a politician these days. Apparently we've fallen into the trap of the professional politician.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you play that game? Boy, is that a loaded question. Because there is a certain game you have to play in order to get known.
There is, and not only to get known, but to be able to play the game if I am to get elected. And some of the people within some of those organizations I talked about where I did run, they asked me, what makes you think that you're prepared for something like that? And I said, I came into some of these organizations, and they spouted all this great, loving, caring stuff to me. And it was so political, it was almost scary.
Yeah.
And I went into that without knowing, and I still did pretty dang good.
Okay.
Now I'm going into real politics, and I know what I'm facing. I'm facing politics. I'm facing politicians.
Professional, career politicians.
Right. Those who will sit there and tell you to your face, I'm not going to try to take your guns. I'm going to fight for you to have access to your private lands. And then get to D.C. and, we'll go ahead and okay the illegalization of bump stocks and slowly pick away at your gun rights. Not, something that I'm already quoted on saying is, one big thing I'm sick of is seeing the career politicians telling you one thing to your face, then get into office and doing the complete opposite.
Okay. So here comes the lightning round for you. So, building the wall.
Building the wall? I used to say build it high, build it deep, and build it wide, but apparently Border Patrol likes to be able to see through it.
Okay.
So,
perforated.
Perforated. I actually have a podcast on my website, fighting4wyoming.com, that you can go to, and I cover that. I'm coast to coast and boost up the Coast Guard to really watch those sides, and there's other technologies we can put throughout the border wall to make sure that if people are coming in, they're coming in legally and not. I'm okay with legal. You coming in legally, fine. If you're deciding that you're going to come in illegally, you're breaking the law already. So why would we think that you would respect the rest of our laws?
Okay. Healthcare.
Healthcare. I enjoy it when people say we need healthcare for all. It's a right. But I'm a part of the VA. I'm in the VA. I'm a person who goes to the VA. 3% of the population of the United States, approximately, are taken care of by the VA, and the VA is failing them. That's what government healthcare looks like to me. So if we can't take care of the 3%, there's no way in the green earth I'm going to sit there and look at healthcare for all without making sure we can take care of the 3% before we can take care of everybody.
Okay, so when it comes to things like Medicare, Medicaid, an expansion of programs like that, which have been proposed over the year, would you rather see a free market system or a government-run system like that?
Well, I'd rather see a free market system on those sides of things. Okay. And then for those who can't afford it, that's what Medicaid it's meant as a hand up, not a hand out.
Okay.
It's to get you back on your feet and make sure you're taken care of while you're down and out. If you're going to be constantly down and out because you're on disability, that makes sense. And that's what it was designed for. But if you just don't want to go to work because your big toe hurts, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Man up and go to work.
Okay. On that note, government's role in the economy.
Government's role in the economy?
Yeah.
Less taxes, budget the money properly, and allow businesses to do what they do, which is bring money to the people.
Okay. Vote for Trump or didn't?
I voted for Trump.
Okay.
There's a few things that I can't say that I support him 100%. Once again, bump stock ban. Now he's talking about silencer ban. Now he's talking about vape fluid bans. Overstepping a government is just too much. It's not the government's job to tell you what you can and can't do. It's the people's job to tell the government what they can and can't do.
Okay. So getting in that case, then we're going to have to get the citizenry back into government again.
Yes.
And, of course, you're going to have to deal with a media that's not going to be very friendly to you, so you're going to have to get savvy at that. I mean, I'm being a nice guy here.
Oh, well, yeah. But, I mean, like, just for instance, I mean, I've called, left emails and everything else to the Star Tribune, and they won't even return my calls.
Okay.
So, I mean, I understand the fact that certain people are going to shun me because of the fact that I don't follow their stuff. But it's radio stations like yours. It's local media. When I call up, when I run into Sheridan for an appointment, and I call up 2 local stations, and they pick me up like that. Okay, cool. Yeah. When our TV stations pick me up like that, it's the local stuff is where I'm once again, it's the people I want to vote me in, not the millionaires.
Okay. All right. So then once again, we're going to have to deal with the establishment. I keep going back to that. And it's not just the establishment in Washington, D.C. It's the establishment in the state of Wyoming that you're going to have to deal with as well. So let's talk about that for just a moment. How do you get out of establishment politics into what you want to do?
Well, I do have to say that I did sign a pledge to back the Republican Party 100%.
Okay.
And the reason why I backed the Republican Party 100% was I went to quite a few of their meetings. I sat in on a lot of the decisions they were making, and they sounded very sound, very down to earth. And when I was talking, asked questions, I got straight answers. It wasn't a beat around the bush answer.
Okay.
So on a constant basis, anytime I ask somebody a question within the Republican Party, I get an answer.
Right.
And it's not, well, because. It's just because is not an answer. So I can respect the Wyoming Republican Party on that to the point of saying that I can support the Wyoming Republican Party, but I want the people to know that I support the people, the state, and then the Republican Party.
Okay. And let's jump outside, not just of the state now, but let's go outside the nation. Since you served troops abroad,
forever wars are needing to end.
Yeah, it seemed like you would come up with an answer like that. I thought you were going to say it because we have been out there a long time.
We have, and because of the fact that I've been on the lines, I've seen people go out on even more dangerous missions than I took. I remember standing in a mess hall line, and there's a guy in front of me covered in mud, and I was like, and some numbers were showing on his patch, and they weren't supposed to be showing. They're supposed to be turned around. And I mentioned to the guy that they're showing, and he turns around, oh, shoot, flips him. It's a lieutenant colonel covered in mud. And I'm like, whoa. But my big thing is the military, yes, keep it strong, keep it in a fighting stance, but diplomacy before combat.
Okay.
We must try diplomacy before any kind of confrontation. And if we're going to put our men and women in that kind of harm's way, we need to make sure we're taking care of them when they come home.
All right. And one of my big pet peeves, national debt, government spending.
National debt needs to go more on the lines of a budgetary set.
Yeah.
Pay the bills. And the phrase that I like to say is, everybody likes to give to charity. Mm-hmm. But you don't give to a charity when your house is being foreclosed on.
Right.
You make sure your payments on your house are paid. So if you're $200,000 in debt and you're giving $100,000 to a charity, that doesn't make sense to do that. That should be going towards your, pay off your house first. Sure, then you can go ahead and do that.
Right.
But there needs to be checks and balances, and that's just a quick answer to it. There's actually checks and balances that I actually have in mind to try to not only cut the deficit but bring money back. Like on just the side of the VA alone, we've got smaller entities that get an abundance amount of money, and when they, at the end of the year, if they were to say, hey, district, take this back, district says, no, we don't want it, spend it, and then everybody does all this needless spending.
Yeah.
If they had a program where they could actually push that back up into the federal government, it may only be $500 from one small facility and then $1,000 from another small facility. But when you add up all these small facilities into a district, I mean, Wyoming's not a lot, but California,
sure,
Colorado, I mean, we've got different districts, different sizes, $500 here, $1,000 there. You're adding it up pretty dang quick.
Pretty fast. But where do people get a hold of you? Because you're obviously going to, again, have to get the word out. Josh Wheeler, U.S. Senate, State of Wyoming.
Yes,
to get a hold of you, where and how?
You can reach out at my website at fighting4wyoming.com. You can also call 307-439-4288. And then if you want to send a letter or anything else like that, you can go to P.O. Box, send it to Wheeler for U.S. Senate, P.O. Box 607, Casper, Wyoming 82602. And once again, that's fighting4wyoming.com.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.